Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Vibe Guide. So we're back. It's another week. It's another Sunday. It is a beautiful Sunday here in Virginia. It is like crispy fall air, which I cannot tell you how excited I am. I'm like so over summer. It was so funny because last night we went out. It was one of my girlfriends, her husband's birthday, so we went out. And it's so funny because some people like I dressed for fall, like wholeheartedly, turtleneck, boots, like a skirt, like I was fall ready. It was like a little chill to the air. You know what I mean? It got down into like the 50s at night. And I was like, oh, I'm going for it. Like I'm here for fall. And then like you could tell like other people's were like still like holding on to summer and like wearing like summer dresses and stuff. And I'm like, it's so funny. Like, when is that transitional time of the year? Like people don't know which way to go. And I cannot wait to put my summer stuff away and get out my sweaters and my cozy shit and my jeans and my coats and like, oh, I just eat that up. Like winter, fall, spring, even like the beginning of spring, like once it gets to like May and like whatever, it's kind of annoying because it's like still kind of chilly, but then it gets warm and then like that kind of irritates me. You know what I mean? The transition is a little rough. You know what I mean? For the girlies, it can be a little rough sometimes. Transitional period. um, but yeah, it's turning into fall and I'm so excited. So, what else? I'm trying to think of any updates. We had a fun night last night. We went out, we did some karaoke and which wasn't really planned. It just happened. The restaurant we went to just turned into karaoke like after, like 9 o'clock or whatever. So we were like, oh my God, fun. So we stayed and did some karaoke and it was just fun just to hang out. And we don't get to do that as much these days. So super fun to do that. Had a wonderful time. And I just realized like how much I really am like happier in the country and like out in the quiet and the peacefulness. Like I enjoy the city in moments. And I enjoy like the culture that it gives and just there's just so many walks of life, you know what I mean, in one room, and you don't get that as much in a small town. And so I love that about a city, I really do, but, like, the noise and the loudness and I mean, last night it was so loud, it was, like, really, like I was, like, having trouble, like, even, like, forming sentences, it was so loud, like, trying to have conversations, it was a small place, and so everyone was kind of like yelling, and then, the drinks get flowing, and then like everyone's like takes it up a whole nother octave. And I'm just like, whoa. So, and I haven't been in environments like that. And I mean, I can't even tell you the last time, like, promise you, like, I can't even tell you the last time I was like truly in like a bar scenario where it's like loud like that for real. So it took me a minute to acclimate, y'all. I was like, God damn, like and the poor girl next to me who I didn't even know her at all. I was, like, really struggling to, like, even come up with words. I was just like, "Hi, yeah, hi, my name what's my name? My name's Caroline. Yeah, it's nice to meet you." Like, I was, like, so awkward, but I just couldn't think. It was so loud. Oh, man. And then you know what's funny is you guys know I'm like learning about human design and all that stuff. And for me, my chart specifically, my digestion is like I digest food best at like a very calm, like serene environment. And I like felt that last night. Like I ordered like this delicious like duck dinner and it was delicious. But like I could feel my stomach like kind of cramping and like I wasn't able to like enjoy it as much if it was just like a nice calm like, quiet place to, like, eat a dinner or whatever, like, have conversation, like, across the table and stuff like that, which was very interesting to me because I was like, "Wow," like, I think that, like, the environment actually really does affect me when I eat, like, I just never really paid much attention, and, like, last night it just kinda clicked with me, I was like, "Oh my god," like, maybe it's the environment because like, there was nothing in it that should have made my stomach upset or anything like that, but I could feel and then, like, after I was done eating, like, I had no issue. So, it was, like, just when I was eating, I was, like, having this, like, weird cramping. And I think it was just, like, part of, like, the environment. So that was really funny. So, yeah, and I've always said this, like, for the past few years, like, I am in that time of life, like, I am 33, and I do live at home, and, like, the goal is obviously to, like, have my own place and, like, find somewhere where I can call home, and I just really haven't found that yet. And so I just think it's, like, me learning these little bits and pieces, like, I do want to live, like, permanently more out in the country and just, like, be surrounded by nature and just, like, out somewhere where it's very calm and serene, but I also wanna live somewhere close enough to a city where you can go in and, like, have access to all the things and, like I said, like, go out and have some culture and see different people and, like, like, it's just down to, like, even the fashion trends and, like, what the kids are wearing and, like, what's going on, and it makes you feel like a zillion-year-old, like, you feel like a dinosaur, like, going out to the club now and, like, it's just so funny, but I do enjoy that. So it's like if I live somewhere and I live like, in the US, like we have to drive a lot. And so for me, it would be nice to live somewhere where it's like you can take a train in or like I would like that, I think, more than like what it is now. It's like a situation where you have to drive all the way in like an hour? So, anyways, just like little tidbits that we learn about ourselves throughout the years. And I just would have never thought that for myself, like probably a decade ago, like, that would've been laughable, like, "Oh, me live in the country? Like, no way." And now I'm just like which I think comes with age too, but some people find the country very boring and just, like, not stimulating enough, and, like, they really enjoy the hustle and bustle, and I don't. I even remember when I lived out in Denver for, like, a brief period, I took a contract out there, and I was living with a girlfriend, and she had this, like, super cute house, like, right in the middle of the city, and I remember I just went to a crystal shop, and she came up to me and, like, gave me, like, a random psychic reading, and she was like, "You're not from here, are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm not," like, and, like, you could probably like, tell that from my accent, stuff like that, but she didn't really talk to me, like, she just kinda came up to me and was like, "Hey, like, do you mind if I tell you a couple things? Like, I'm a psychic." And I'm like, "Hell yeah, like, what's the message?" Like, "Yes." And she basically was like, "You're not from here." And I was like, "No." And she's like, I don't your energy does not do well here." Like, and I was like, "No, like, I feel that. Like, I don't like it here." And I never would have suspected that Colorado would, like, not have been my jam. But she's like, "I don't think it's Colorado, but I think it's the city." She was like, "There's a lot of energies that affect you that you don't realize, like, from the cell towers and being in a city with all these different people around and, like, all these different energies all around you all the time and, like, working in a hospital." And she was just like, "Yeah, it's not for you, like, that kinda life is not for you." And I was like, "Whoa." I don't know why, you guys, I just never thought about that. I always thought I'd be like a city chick, like, for real. I always thought, like, I'm gonna be a city girl, but I was like, I was really not happy there, and I felt really off, like, I just didn't feel like myself. And so her saying that, I was like, "Whoa, okay." And she was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be leaving, like, very soon." She's like, almost kind of abruptly. And then the next day, or it might have been 2 days later, they canceled my contract. But they were nice enough, they gave me 2 weeks notice, which they don't have to, but they gave me the last 2 weeks, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't need you anymore, like, we're good on COVID and blah, blah, blah." So I came back to Virginia. I was only out there for, like, a month and a half maybe. So, very interesting. But anyways, I think that's all I went on a tangent there, you guys, sorry, I don't know how we really got there, but anyways, this week's episode, I want to talk about strengthening your intuition because I found myself in a spot now where I'm really having to do it. Like I'm really having to consciously make these decisions to like strengthen my intuition because when I really first started on this journey, I was very fortunate enough that like I wasn't working and I was living in France and I was like really taking my time and I didn't work for like a year, year and a half. And that gave me so much time to just heal and really go inward and just like have this really crazy experience that I would have never expected. I don't know. And people who have these experiences in life, they can tell you like it's just like you're there one day and then the next day like your whole life changes and you're like, "What happened?" Like, "Whoa, I feel like elevated, but I also feel like, whoa, wait a minute, like what's going on?" And then you kind of go through like deeper parts of yourself and healing different things that you never like weren't even on your conscious like level. They were so deep in your subconscious and now they're coming to the surface and you're like, "What is happening?" So I was really lucky that I didn't work. And so I had a lot of time to like put these pieces in practice, like meditating every day and journaling and going to different therapists and different healers and just like experimenting with what worked with me and what didn't. And all the time in the world to kind of do that stuff and to read about what I wanted to read about and get into the things that I wanted to get into. And so a lot of time. So then, when I moved back, I took this nursing job. And so now it's like learning about how to acclimate that into quote unquote real life. You know what I mean? And so it's been difficult. It's been very difficult for me, and I've gotten so far out of the routine that I had when I was in Europe, and I can feel it, and I don't really like feeling that way. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of losing my intuitiveness and like, that psychic part of myself that was, like, very strong when I was in Europe. I do feel like it's kind of slipping away, and, the thing about intuition is, like, it is a muscle, and, like, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's just like anything else, and so, I thought this would be a good episode because this is what I'm really and it's also Virgo new moon, and so it's, like, getting back into these routines and organization and, like, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your soul, and, like, doing it in, like, a more organized, like, consistent way. So I really felt just, like, pulled towards that recently in the past, like, I don't know, probably month or so. And so I've been just, like, getting back into, like, meditating and doing my things and, pulling my tarot cards and my oracle cards and journaling and just getting outside. Like, I ate my breakfast outside, put a blanket down, and just those little bits and pieces that you can do throughout the day that, like, really helped you connect back in with yourself and help you with the energy that's so chaotic around us all the time. And so that's what I want to talk about because I was like, you know what? I'm going through it and I'm trying to like really acclimate it into like real life because people think that it's like very inaccessible and it's not. Like it's just about making the time. Like you can make the time to go to the gym, you can make the time to do a 5-minute meditation. You know what I mean? It's about what you want to do, like, at the end of the day, like, because I was, like, starting to make the excuses for myself, like, "Oh, I'm so tired," and blah, 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 and you know what? I would fall asleep during my meditations because I am that tired, but that's okay too. It's like, well, that's the type of meditation that I was meant to have, like, I'm just meant to you can still have just as good of a meditation falling asleep even though you might not consciously remember it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference, and I've also had these experiences where I've meditated and kind of gone in and out of sleep, and it's like the craziest, like, coolest experience ever because 'cause I'm like, "Whoa, am I awake? Like, whoa, I'm asleep. Whoa, I'm awake. Whoa, I'm asleep." Like, it's, like, wild. It's like a little wild ride. And so, it just is what it is because if you choose to do it in the morning and you fall back asleep or whatever, like, that's okay. Like, that's okay. So, because I kinda used to, like, get on myself about that, and I used to find it a little irritating, and then I stopped doing it because I just was like maybe I just need sleep, but there's nothing more healing for your body than meditation, and then add sleep in at the same time, like, it's like a double whammy. So, anyways, um, trying to fit these things back into your life can be tricky, but it's just about making the time, and it's about if you wanna strengthen that muscle and if you want to live a life that's intuitively led, then there's just no way around it, like, you just have to put the time in, you gotta, like, put the effort in to do it and to have your life look a certain way and to form those habits. So, I have a bunch of tips, and, if I go through all of them, like, we'll see what the time situation is because I didn't really want this one to be super long, but I always get so chatty. I don't know what that's about. So the first tip or, like, the first thing I wanted to talk about, which I just touched on briefly, was, like, consciousness, subconscious, and super consciousness, because I don't think super consciousness is touched on. You don't hear about it that much. We know our conscious minds, like everyone kind of knows like that, that's your conscious mind. Like you're making those choices, like you're choosing to drink that cup of coffee or whatever. Subconscious is like a little trickier. It's like those things that you call triggers. You know what I mean? You learn about yourself a little bit deeper and you learn that like something that happened to you when you were 6 that you might not consciously remember all of a sudden when you're 26 something happens and you have this like massive reaction to it and you don't really know why, and then you peel back the layers of the onion and it's something in your subconscious that you didn't know was there. Now you're aware, now you know it's there, and so the next time you get that trigger it's like, okay, I recognize this, I know what to do. Like that's our subconscious mind. It's like below the surface. She's a little like she's a little underground, you know what I mean? Then we have our super consciousness, which is the part that for me, Merriam-Webster, I think, describes it the same way because I read there's actual definition. I was like, cool. But basically it's like your how we connect to God, like our intuition, psychic ability, connection to God, the ultimate creativity, the like your soul. It's that connection to a part of yourself that you can't put into words, that there is no language for it, that there is no scientific study that says that, do this and you'll have, your super consciousness. Like there's no like concrete thing. Like there's a lot of this stuff and like we all know like intuition is not concrete and it doesn't make logical sense, but like we all feel it as human beings and we all can accept that we know it's there. You know what I mean? And so the super consciousness is the part that you get to choose to tap into. Every single human on this planet has that ability. But whether or not you choose to accept it and like know it's there and use it to your benefit and connect in with that part of yourself, however that looks like to you, that's up to you. You can ignore it for your entire life and live your life, all in your brain for the rest of your life. That's fine. You know what I mean? But it's there. It's there for everyone. And everyone can attest to having some sort of level of intuitional ping at some point in their life, right? And that's like your connection to your super consciousness. So for me, quieting the other parts of your brain and connecting into your super consciousness is really, really, really important. And it's the way that, it's like that direct line to God. It's like that direct line to universe, direct line to source, direct line to your soul, your higher self, like whatever it is that you would like to call it, whatever it is, there's just this indescribable feeling and there's just this indescribable, you know, connection that happens with that. And it's so helpful for humans, and so unfortunately it tends to get ignored a lot. So I just wanted to bring that to your ear holes. And, if you don't know much about consciousness, subconsciousness, super consciousness, look it up, read more about it. I'm not like an expert on it, but I know that like when I meditate, that's what's happening. Like I'm connecting in with my super consciousness for sure. It's like different dimension shit, like coolest ride of your life. You know what I mean? Like so much fun to meditate, So, I just wanted to have that as the very first tip because I think that that's important and not that many people know about that. So, um, shout out to the super consciousness. Number 2, nervous system regulation. So this is important just in life. You know what I'm saying? With like cortisol and, our physical health of our bodies. On an intuitive level, you cannot decipher like your intuition from your ego if you're in flight or fight all the time. And some people don't even realize that they're in fight or flight. Like that's the problem. Some people don't even realize on a day-to-day basis that their heart rate's elevated, that they're like we all know those people. We all know those people. Some people are conscious of it and like, that's just like who they are and whatever. But other people, you can tell they just get on level 10 and they don't it's like, "Wait a minute, like, take a deep breath. Are you okay?" And they're like, "What?" And it's like, "Well, you're, like, talking real fast. Like, you look like you're gonna have, like, a panic attack or something. Are you okay?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then you can see the wheels kinda turn, like and then they, like, bring it down a notch, and you're like, "See? Like, just take a deep breath." So, I think nervous system regulation and how you choose to do that is your own. There's lots of different things, you guys. There's, like, EFT, there's tapping, there's meditation, there's just sitting down and taking 10 deep breaths, and there's, God, working out. I mean, there's just so many different ways that we can regulate our nervous system. Um, but I think it's just really important to tap into your intuition because it's so hard to tell the difference if between your ego and like that fear-based decision making versus an intuitive ping. And you're not going to feel it. I'm telling you. If you're operating because I can feel that for myself. Like recently, I've been feeling like a lot more like in my head. And I know that that means that I'm operating out of fight or flight more than I am out of rest and digest. if that makes sense, because I know I'm having a harder time, like, getting those intuitive pings in, and I know it's because I'm dysregulated. You know what I mean? I haven't been on my game. I haven't been eating what I should be eating. I haven't been working out like I normally should be working out. I haven't been meditating like I should be meditating. Like, I know I'm off, and I can feel it, and I can feel that disconnect between my intuition and me. Like, I can feel it, and I don't like it. So, nervous system regulation. I For people who have anxiety, I think tapping is an excellent source. EFT, I think that's excellent because it's like a physical thing that you can do. And I really think for people who suffer with anxiety, getting your brain to like get off of that and like focus on like another, physical touch or something, like it just clicks your brain in a different direction. I feel like it's so much easier to come back down as opposed to just like taking deep breaths and like that kind of thing. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I can add to that. But just so important, and you guys know, like, I've said that before, and it's in other episodes about the difference between fight and flight and, rest and digest, and how important it is to try and stay and rest and digest as much as we can for your physical health, and also, like I said, to, connect in with your intuition because you can't hear, like, you can't it's like standing on a crowded street, like, with, like, tractor trailers and all the things going by, and it's like you're trying to, like, scream and yell across the street at your friend. It's like, obviously they can't hear you. Like, you know what I mean? Like they know you're there and they're like squinting and they're like, "Wait, what are you saying? What?" You know what I mean? Like you're yelling back and it's like that's like you and your intuition. Like when it's like chaotic and crazy around there, like around your life and in your energy and in your body when it's like chaotic and crazy, it's like you can't connect. Like you can't get the messages across the channel like you can't. You know what I mean? Like, it just cannot pass through that, like, chaotic, crazy energy going on. I don't know, that's probably the worst example ever, but I'm just trying to explain, and I think you guys get it. The more calm you are, the more you're gonna be connected to your intuition, the more you're gonna be able to, like, get those messages that you need from your intuition, get those answers. Number 3 is when those answers come in, don't ignore it. This is a big one. People have a hard time because intuition is not rational. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense all the time. It does not. So, this is kind of a quick point, but you can choose to ignore it because it doesn't make sense or it's not like the safest decision or it's not the safest choice or maybe you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your intuition and that's a whole nother thing, like you have to figure out why are you going against what you know feels right to you? Why are you going against it? Why are you doing that? Um, so that's another piece, like, don't stop ignoring your intuition. When you get the pings, when you get the information, when it comes in for you, trust it. Experiment with it. You know what I mean? It takes time. It takes time to build the trust. It takes time to build the muscle. So the more you ignore it, the further away you're going to get from like really understanding your own intuition and how it feels like and what it looks like for you. So don't ignore the pings that you get. Don't ignore um, those little intuitive messages that you get. Okay. Um, Number 4, I don't even know what number this is, but I think it's number 4. It's number 4 on my paper, but I don't know. Sit in silence. So this is very similar to like nervous system regulation. And really what I think about is like shutting off your conscious mind because your mind can play, man, some of the worst games on you. And your mind is like craving for it to be told what to do. Like it's not, your mind will go in like a zillion different directions unless you consciously decide to shut it down. Do you know what I mean? And like we have the capability to do that. And you know how we do that? We do that through meditation. We do that through going on a bike ride. We do that through working out. We do that through like fucking jamming to your favorite song. Like all these things that free yourself of this conscious thought. You know what I mean? Like people who play sports, they practice so much and they do the same moves over and 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 over. It's not even a conscious thought to them anymore. how to swing a tennis racket. Like, you think Serena Williams, like, thinks about how she's gonna swing her tennis racket before she swings it? Fuck no, she swings it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of things that I'm saying, like, to get you out of your conscious mind. And I said sit in silence, which can be, one way of doing it, but it doesn't always have to be that way. But trying to fit in times throughout the day where you get out of that conscious brain, very important. Like, not even, and I like, some of these are just not even for like connecting with your intuition. Like, yes, that helps. Absolutely. Like, driving, some people get their intuitive hits just through driving, being in the car on a back road, like, window down or whatever, and then boom, like their answer to what they've been searching for, like whatever, just comes right through because you're just out of that conscious state, you know? So, which I don't really know if that's a good thing, you know what I mean, when you're driving, like I feel like we should be a little bit more conscious about what's going on around us. But it happens, it happens. Um, but yeah, these are all just little tools to kind of shut down your brain so that you can allow these other messages to come in. And like I said, this doesn't even have to be an intuitive tip, but like just for your life in general, I think it's really crucial and a really good practice to have. Number 5, I have stop asking for advice. Oh my gosh, this one was so hard for me to learn, you guys. And I want to bring in human design on this one too, because this one was really confusing to me because in human design, the way that I connect in with my intuition is I'm sounding board. So, me talking out loud and like saying things typically to other people, I've learned now to like record myself and like write, even writing in my journal is a form of doing that. And like reading it back and like understanding like what the tone was or like how, you know what I mean? Like what was the energy around what I was saying. Um, but for a lot of my life, I have been so vocal and I have just said things and I mean, specifically with my dad, I remember it always being extremely frustrating to me because he would like kind of shut me down a lot or sometimes just like you could tell he wasn't really like listening, you know what I mean? Like the TV was on, but I was like really trying to like put out some idea that like maybe I did want advice on, but I didn't. I was like at that age and like this is before I really knew myself and like I knew that this is the way that I get my intuitive pings is to like soundboard off of people and like hear myself say it. It's not about the other person's advice back to me. Right? And so like when I gave this example like my dad really does come to the forefront of my mind cuz it was just always so frustrating because like he would give me like, well, why do you want to do it that way or like maybe you shouldn't do it that way. It was never just like, oh, okay, like that sounds cool. Like how would you do that? Or you know what I mean? Like not like inquisitive, but like always advice giving or sometimes just like straight up ignoring or and like that was just really frustrating to me. And so I think I shut down a lot of that and like I never really felt like a safe space to like say things out loud because I felt like for some reason my dad would get irritated sometimes or like I don't he had like other shit going on in his life and that's fine. He just couldn't make that disconnect. You know what I mean? Like so I got like a lot of that. But it's just my nature. You know what I mean? Or he'd be like, "Well, what do you want from me, Caroline? Like, what do you like, you want me to tell you to do it? Like, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know." You know what I mean? At that age, like, and now it makes sense to me, like, why that whole process was so frustrating for me is because I just needed someone to be a sounding board for me. I didn't need all the advice. I didn't need all the, well, maybe you should do this instead of that. Like, I didn't need that. I just needed someone to just like bounce ideas off of and like bounce off concerns and bounce off whatever, you know what I mean? So for a lot of my life, I always got so many other advices and like what was that Teresa Giudice or whatever advices? Watch the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Um no, I would get inundated with so much information because naturally my nature and like I would reach out to others. But now that I know that that's my nature, it's not about getting the advice from other people. It's just about like, I need it for myself to like hear it come out of my mouth and to like hear the tone behind it and to feel it in my body and to like, that's how I connect in with my intuition the most. Like, I don't feel it in my gut like most people do. Like, I verbalize it. And that's how it comes back to me. Or, like I said, I can write it in a journal. Like, I just have to get it out of my being And then I can decipher like, okay, this is a yes, this is a no. So very confusing. And I mean, I feel like people like that was like a more extreme version, but I feel like everyone does that to a certain extent. Like we always call our girlfriend or whatever, your dad or your mom or your sister, should I do this? Like, what do you think? What da, 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 da. And that's like one of the worst things we can do. Truly. Like no matter what your human design is, and the example I just gave, like it's just one of the worst things you can do because it just pulls you away from yourself. And so I think that was really important to include in like this, building, strengthening your intuition because it's such a trust muscle. And so if you're searching outside of yourself for answers, you're never going to trust yourself and you're never going to trust your intuition. You know what I mean? Because something that maybe comes to you through your intuition, like I said, is not going to always make rational, logical sense. So for another person's perspective, they're going to be like, you're crazy. Like, why would you ever do that? And then boom, you're off the trail. You know what I mean? Like, then you're just, like, going down a path that's for the person that just gave you advice, not you, you know? So, like, very important to stop asking others for advice. I have to say, like, obviously, there's caveats for that. Like, someone who is calling someone for advice because they've been in that same situation, like, say someone asked me advice about nursing. Like, that's different, you guys, like, you know what I'm saying. Like, for these, like, life decisions and things, like, if I would have asked a million people, like, "Should I go to nursing school? Should I not go to nursing school? Should I go to nursing school? Should I not go to nursing school?" Well, I'm giving all my power to everyone else, you know what I mean? Like, I made that decision for myself, you know? And so, I think you guys get it, like, that's what I'm saying, like, there are caveats to it, but in general, just go inward for your answers, not outward. So I wanted to talk about discerning the difference between ego and your intuitive voice, your intuition. Um, because sometimes it's hard to discern the difference. We need both, right? Like we have both for a reason, and it's always about that balance. And we need our ego for certain situations, just like we need our intuition for certain situations. But if you can't discern between the two, then that creates a little bit of trouble. There's like always, I think it's like a Buddhist saying, like talking about the ocean and how if you're standing on the shore and you're looking out at the ocean, you see the waves, like they can be choppy, they can be calm, the water can be still, but like below the surface, there's so much complexity and so many things going on that we can't see with the naked eye. And it's like very similar to the human experience. And like the ego is like that surface layer of the ocean, right? And it can change a lot. It can, change with the wind literally and we can adapt ourselves and show up differently and act differently and do different things and we have the choice to like put the goggles on and to go underneath the water and to get into those complexities and dig a little bit deeper with ourselves and I feel like that's where those intuitive hits come. Like that's where that true soul relationship comes when you decide to go into those deeper parts of yourself. So I think that is a journey in itself and learning to discern between your ego and your intuition is not, I mean, sometimes it's fairly straightforward and fairly simple, but for me, I didn't find that it was that easy in the beginning to really discern what was what. So it took me a lot of like trial and error and like really journaling out things and like really any decision that I was making, it was like really trying to like practice. Like, what is the feeling that's showing up in my body? Like just down to like the smallest things. It's like, do I really want that cup of coffee today? Like, how do I feel about that? And then sometimes be like, you know what? No, I don't want that. Like, it's just going to make me jittery and feel weird. And I actually don't want that cup of coffee today. It's going to give me heartburn, So it just was like these little things that I would practice with. And then also with like ego and like in my opinion, it kind of shows up as like it's almost like that thing to like keep you safe where it's like say you have a big decision to make and intuitively you want to go one way, but your ego is like, "Well, babe, wait a minute." It's like your brain coming back in and like talking you out of it. You know what I mean? It's like fear based. It's like well, if you do that, then this is going to happen. And what about this? And what about that? And da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like you can go down that spiral. And I feel like that's more of like our ego. That's our fear based. And it has a place. It certainly does. But when it comes to strengthening your intuition, discerning the 2. I'm not saying like one is better than the other and whatever, whatever, because it's always about balance. It's always about balance. We need both, like I said, but being able to discern what's what is very critical to strengthening your intuition. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I can say about that because I mean, it can be complex, but it can be extremely simple. And for me, like I said, it just took time and it took practice and it took understanding and like learning my human design and learning how things show up for me and how things feel for me and like having experiences where I was able to use both. Use the ego parts of myself and the intuitive parts of myself to like make decisions, you know? Um because the ego's not all bad. It's like, it does bring in that rational side of things, which sometimes we do need. We do need to pay attention to certain things. Um but I think getting really clear on that is really important. So, hope that makes sense. The last one is using your body, and this is like also kind of rolls into that. It's like figuring it out. What is a yes? What is a no? Like what is an intuitive ping versus what is like fear based? Like we use our body for like you can use your body for these decisions and you can figure out what feels right and like what comes in for you. And I want to say like human design and learning your human design can be really helpful for that because it can guide you which way. Like I had no idea I was sounding board intuition, no idea. But now that I know that I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense because I was making decisions like fear-based ego shit because I was thinking like trust your gut. But for me, my gut's not the way. It's not the way. You know what I mean? My gut is like it's a little bit more fear-based. Like, when I feel something, like, going on in my gut, I'm like, "Oh, that's probably you just being scared of something." You know? It's like I have to test it out and say it out loud and, like, clarify it, like, outside of my body. Which some people don't have. Some people do have just your gut, and I feel like human design is a really good starting point to figure out, like, where does it show up in your body? And then also, if you guys listen back to the episode with Kim Salter, she gives a really good example on how to use your body, like muscle testing. And I can't remember the exact I should have gone back and looked, but I can't remember exactly what she said. But, I don't even remember what episode it is, but it's Kim Salter, and she's an intuitive, guide, and she's very knowledgeable about this stuff and has been doing it for a long time, and so she gave a really good example on how to do that and, like, find it within your body, um, in the episode, so you can go back and listen to that. Also, I use a pendulum, which, sometimes she can be a little tricky bitch, the pendulum. I don't know about the pendulum all the time. So I really wouldn't recommend that, like, first off. I would think you should just really try and get comfortable with yourself before adding in any tools like that. I would think, like, really trying to figure out what it feels like in your body and what it looks like for you versus adding in different tools and things that you can use. Um, because the pendulum can be a little tricky. She can be a little tricky. So, um yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that's I just think overall, like, strengthening your intuition, it's just practice, and it's just like anything else in life. Like, if you want it to grow stronger and be stronger and you wanna live an intuitive lifestyle and you know, you wanna make decisions and choices in your life that way, then you gotta put the time in and you have to put the effort in, and it's not just I mean, it's there. It's always gonna be there for you, but you have to learn how to tap into it, and you have to learn how to strengthen that muscle. So I hope this episode was helpful, and I hope you guys got some information out of it that you can use in your own life and, strengthening your intuition. Like I said, I struggle. I'm just human, just like everyone else, and I struggle to like get back in my routine and do these things. And but it's really important to me. So, I do the work that I need to do because I don't like to feel disconnected from my intuition and like disconnected from my body and like dysregulated. Like I don't like to feel like that. I've lived like that for 30 some years and I'm just not going back to that. So I can feel myself kind of shifting off the path a little bit. So I'm like, yep, we're getting right back in it. Like, you know, and that's just what it is, making that conscious decision to practice your intuition. So I hope this is helpful, you guys. If you like this episode, share it with your friends. give it a like, give it a review, and I hope you guys have a wonderful fall weekend and have a wonderful week, and we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.